Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today I have my first impressions of the British battleships, namely the Iron Duke. And so far I've enjoyed the line, I've enjoyed playing in them. The reason the Iron Duke is the first one I'm talking about because tier 3 and 4 battleships just aren't that interesting. To me, tier 5 is where you start to see maybe a touch of what makes that nation unique, but it's also, I'd say, the first tier that battleship play to me kind of becomes more interesting. At tier 3 you basically just sail straight at the enemy to try to run them down because otherwise they'll just outrun you. Tier 4 not a lot changes, but tier 5 you start to have to play a little more intelligently. The cruisers start to get more varied. That's where the lines diverge. And for the Iron Duke, I've enjoyed her so far. It reminds me a bit of the New York. No big surprises there with the gun arrangements, and she's been a good ship. I've only had a couple games in her. Right now, my Iron Duke is partially upgraded. I've got the new hull and the engines. The Rage Finder I did not have at this point. And I went for the engines first because these low tier battleships just feel so slow, and even with them, you're not going to be breaking 23 knots all that often. I think most of the time I look down, I see it kind of in the 22s. And that's with the upgraded engine. So to me, that was needed. Next I went for the hit points that the upgraded hull gives you, the little bit more AA, and now she feels good. The range doesn't bother me too much. 15.3 kilometers is plenty far out, and honestly, I don't mind getting closer into things. So you can see on neighbors here, I'm going for the islands. I like going to the islands in a battleship. That is evident to anyone who's watched a lot of my videos. And the reason is, it gets you cruisers and destroyers in nice and close to that range where you can really start to hurt them. And you can see off the bat here, a lot of my team is going this way. We do have 4, maybe 5 ships going down to the south, but the bulk of the team is going up to these islands in the northwest. And I'm basically just going to sail straight into the mix. Try to get inside 10 kilometers, particularly to cruisers, and just erase them from the map. The other thing you will notice in this match is I'm sort of bottom tier. It's technically a tier 7 game, but if you look at it, all the battleships are tier 5. There's some tier 7 cruisers and a tier 7 destroyer on each team. So things like the Pensacola, they are here. They can hurt me. A well-played Pensacola is very good. But I don't have to fear any bigger, more powerful battleships, which is a nice break, because the one thing these lower tier battleships I find do suffer from a little bit is the step up as you go tier to tier really does affect them. And if you're ever in a tier 7 and you see a tier 5 battleship, if you play it right, you're going to take very little damage getting rid of that tier 5. So it's nice not to have to fight that other way around. Now, as for the gun arrangement on the Iron Duke, I'd say it's pretty much what you expect by this point at tier 5. You've got 2 turrets up front, 2 in the rear, and 1 in the middle, with it swinging through the stern of the ship. Which means turning away is really going to be your friend, in my opinion, if you're going to have to do a 180. You know, if you close in too close and you want to get out or switch directions, I'd do my turn away from the enemy, keep 3 of your guns pointing at those ships as long as possible, only taking those front 2 off for a minimum time. Turret traverse isn't a specialty at this kind of tier. Now right here I'm trying to get nice and close to this island, mainly because I didn't want to be sailing through the open. I'm air detected, you can see EHE coming my way, and that I'd say is kind of my first point. There's been a lot of HE of late from the battleships. I know there were rumors that the British line was just going to be HE spam out of the battleships, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not, time will tell. I've had a lot of luck using my armor piercing shells because cruisers that choose to turn side on. First real volley here at this Fiji. The rudder was hard over. We'll see if any hit. And a bunch of water and a good set of shots. 3 penetrations, 1 over penetration, just shy of 10k. Not a bad first volley. I can live with that. Now down with this New York, there is a Texas, and beyond that, it looks like most of the fleet is up off my bow. They're on the other side of a big hard island, and I want to keep it that way. What I do want to get rid of is this New York, just making sure she's who I have targeted as that Texas appears, and I let the shells fly, and you can see the high explosive coming in, and it's not fun. Luckily there I wasn't lit on fire, but I've been putting a lot of fires out, which to me is more of an annoyance. I haven't actually died from any of the fires, and with repair party on a battleship, you get most of that health back anyways. Sadly though, this New York is going to lose my attention. You can see some good angling there. The New York only lands 1 shell for 1,000 damage, the rest ricocheting, but it's time for me to get the stern hard over because I want to deal with this Kirov. Higher tier cruiser, and was giving me a decent profile, but didn't manage to punch anything in, and now I've got to pay attention to a lot of battleships. You can see me rudder hard over. I just want to turn, get myself out of trouble here, and I'm gonna be doing okay. That Kirov is still behaving a little strange. Now they're going astern, so rather than start fighting the Iron Duke, I go, I'm gonna try this again. Once again though, not a very good hit. And yeah, that happens. Cruisers with little armor can be a little trolly sometimes. Now I do have a Fiji who's trying to get on the flank here, and I'm pretty much just going to continue sailing to the north, get around this island that's ahead of me, and then loop around it. Hopefully I can get the Fiji caught out, but doesn't always work that way. I've got a lot of targets. This Pensacola looking pretty juicy. You can see her going astern, but the smoke from her stacks was switching to vertical, so I know she's about to go forward. There she is, but the shells are just a little overlead. Only 5,700 damage. Didn't quite read her acceleration right. That's okay. I'm up to just shy of 35,000 damage. Still have a good chunk of my health left, and things are pretty even. You can see we've got a Nicholas who's made it to the enemy cap, which is putting us just a little ahead on points, but otherwise things are balanced right now. And that's how I want them to stay. You can see those ships that went to the south really are pushing around, and I get a nice hit there, just shy of 10k, and it's time for me to turn. And this is where I'm talking about turning away. Now obviously in this situation, turning towards doesn't make sense, but you can see how the guns can fire from pretty good arcs, all 3 of them, off the stern of the vessel. And this Fiji is gonna wish she didn't get this close to me. Nice chunk there, 13,000 damage, and that is enough to make her ink. The smoke coming out as she stops. Sadly, that means I'm no longer going to be able to see her, and I'm going to take a bunch of damage from Fiji gunfire here, but it's the price you pay. I can see the Kirov disappears right before I let the shells go. So bring the guns over, time to just throw something out at the Texas. And where I've had a lot of success so far with Iron Duke is just keeping the guns firing. You know, get a target, shoot at it. Just try to pick the one that's giving you the best target. I haven't had too much luck really focusing any enemies down, and I haven't wound up in any one-on-one duels. It's always been situations like this where I've got 5, 6 enemy ships, all on different bearings, and one of them always seems to be giving me a pretty decent look at her side. Now you see me look at the Iron Duke there for a second,
I'm thinking about throwing shells their way, but I'm really hoping this Fiji smoke's about to be up, or that Qckslvrslash turns side on. When she doesn't, I decide I've been lit on fire. It's my turn to have a go with the high explosive. See if I can't light some fires of my own. One overpen there, tiny bit of damage off the Iron Duke, but you can really see the Fiji gunfire starting to chip away at my health. And I'm just going to sail as far away as possible, get myself behind some solid cover, and then I should be good. The high explosive's just about loaded, and of course that's when this Iron Duke gives me a perfect profile shot, and the shells are free, but they're overlaid. None of them hit, but I will survive because the Fiji smoke has finally dissipated, and they are sitting side on. It just seems that every time you hop into these lower tier games, someone's always giving you free shots for their Citadel. Now, just like the Pensacola here, I'm really paying attention to what the smoke is doing coming out of our stacks. And you can see me really contemplating. These British ships can accelerate quite rapidly, so I really just wait for that moment. The smoke goes vertical, let the shells fly, and this is going to go a little bit better. Pair of Citadels, all it takes. Goodbye Fiji. My first kill, and just shy of 80,000 damage. And so far, things continue to be really balanced. 4 deaths aside, a battleship the difference between the two, but you can see we've got a couple of their ships really down on low health. This Iron Duke, the New York, the Qckslvrslash, they're all really starting to hurt, and that's where we're going to start to pull away. We just got our 5th kill. This New York's going to start getting peppered down. It's a pair of Iron Dukes versus one. It's a fight we're going to win too, and especially when you see ships do this. She's turning, I think, trying to get more of her guns onto target. Just gives me a better shot. Sadly, RNG decides only 1 shell penetrates, 4,200 damage, and now I'm just going to weave. Try to keep myself from making the same decision that they made and give that really good side view to the enemy ship. But I do want to keep all my guns firing, and I don't want to hit my ally here, so I jut to the right, just swing out of the way. That New York over on the side dies, so it's now just all of us up here versus this Iron Duke, and they are overextended with no support. Better hit there, 8,500 damage, and you can see there's the HE, and I eat a pretty big chunk of my health from those shells. And this is where it gets tricky. When do you put the fire in? Well, the Iron Duke still has a shot at me. I want to get moving forward so that they can't hit me before I put this fire in. I still have 1 repair party, so I'm going to be able to get a good chunk of this health back. There's another 8,000 or so damage. This guy is going down. You can see the secondaries working back and forth. And I've got myself enough into cover behind this island. The EVT1 there switches over targets. So I'm going to zoom in, use the C key to switch to those rear turrets because I want to get a shot off, but the torpedoes beat me to it. And, well, it's 1 less ship to deal with. And you can see we've got a decent force down in the south. And this is where I'm going to skip forward a little bit. This Pensacola is the target I'm going to run down. Sadly, I'm not a very fast ship. So let's just skip ahead a few seconds to when I once again have a line. And here we are, resuming just as I let the shells fly to try and finish this Pensacola off. And you can see I'm not the only one with the idea. The whole team trying to be the one to get the kill. Luckily, it's my shell that plunges through her decks. I get a 2nd kill, pick up my Confederate medal, and I pretty much finish the game with 103,000 damage, just shy of it. And that is the finish for me. There's a couple destroyers and an enemy Koenig left. I'm never going to get close enough to shoot at them or hit them with anything. So as I sail towards the enemy fleet, my first thoughts, I like this line. I know it's going to change as I get higher up it. Ships become kind of more unique to a degree, and I can't wait to put videos out on them. They're going to be more formal reviews as I get there, but since the line just got here, I'm a little bit excited. I wanted to get a video quickly, and the Iron Duke felt like a good place because tier 5's where ships kind of start becoming their own. Obviously at tier 6, well, I've kind of played the Queen Elizabeth class a bunch in the form of the Warspite. So we'll see where the differences are there. May or may not make a video on her. If I did, it would probably point out some of the differences between her and her premium counterpart, and then pick it up, hopefully with a tier 8. I think that's going to be my first major review of the British line, because by then the nations are set in stone. What they do well, they're going to be doing well at tier 8. Anyways, with this game over, let's hop to the post-battle. Now, the results look pretty sweet, but I'm running a lot of special flags to boost the XP and everything to get through. So 443,000 credits, 9,400 experience, definitely not earned through the caliber of play. It was a decent game, I'd say a good game. 102,000 damage, 2 kills, Dreadnought and Confederate. That's a good battleship game. But the money and experience, that's all thanks to those special flags earned during the various events that have been happening. And I've loved having those flags because it gets you through these ships so quick when you can walk away with nearly 10,000 experience. As far as my standing on the team goes, top of team, just over 1,500 experience. That's a good amount. Haven't cracked the 2K mark in her yet, but in this case, the speed really limited it. I didn't have a ton to shoot at the whole game. The whole team was with me, and we sank ships. As far as damage, you can see the spread there. 1.5 million potential damage received, and that's what battleships do. You absorb incoming damage, and so far for me, the Iron Duke, with the right angling, has been reliable. I haven't found myself cursing because shells did tons of damage to me. And there you kind of see the real breakdown of where all that experience and money is coming from. Anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed this. For those of you playing the new line, I hope you're having as much fun as me. If you are and you did like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. And as always, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'll have another one for you all later.